The sun hung low over the alien horizon, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. Trees with crystalline leaves whispered softly in the gentle wind, and rivers of shimmering blue water curved through the land like liquid glass. The settlement of Valara sat in the middle of this beauty, a cluster of small homes and communal buildings built with care by humans and their alien neighbors. Life here was peaceful, almost magical, and the laughter of children often echoed through the crystal forests. Liara, a slender alien woman with soft silvery skin that glowed faintly in the dimming light, knelt by a small pond, her long fingers trailing through the water. Her eyes were warm and gentle, but today they carried a shadow of worry. Her young son Cairo had been playing near the forest edge for hours, and now the sun was dipping low. He should have returned by now. "Cairo," she called, her voice trembling. "Kiro, where are you?" The wind carried her voice, but no response came. Only the soft rustle of leaves answered her call. Panic began to rise in her chest. She had sent him to play near the forest hundreds of times before, but the forest always seemed safer when her husband, Talon, was with him. Talon was away, helping the humans repair the energy fields around the settlement. Liara was alone, and the thought of Cairo being lost, or worse, was unbearable. She ran to the edge of the forest, her heart pounding. The shadows of the alien trees stretched long and dark, hiding paths she did not know well. She shouted his name again and again, her voice breaking. The settlement's alert system, an array of glowing stones that shimmered when danger was near, began to flicker. Residents emerged from their homes, drawn by the urgency in Liara's cries. Among them was Captain Rowan, a human soldier assigned to help keep the settlement safe. His presence was calm, steady, and commanding. He moved with careful purpose toward Liara, scanning the forest with sharp eyes. "Liara," he said softly but firmly, "tell me exactly what happened." She swallowed hard, tears brimming in her silver eyes. "Kiro, he was playing near the forest edge. I was collecting water. And now he's gone. I don't know where he went. He could be hurt. He could—" Her voice broke completely. Captain Rowan knelt beside her, resting a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will find him," he said. His voice was calm, steady, and full of quiet authority. "I need you to stay here for now. Help is coming. We will search every corner until he's safe." Liara's hands trembled, but she nodded, trusting him in the way only a mother could trust a stranger who radiated competence and courage. She had heard stories of human soldiers, brave, intelligent, and persistent, but she had never thought she would see one save her own child. Rohan immediately organized a search team. A few humans and aliens, armed with scanners and light beacons, fanned out in all directions. The forest seemed endless, a place of twisting paths, glowing flora, and strange, murmuring wildlife. Each tree and shrub looked alive, watching their movements silently. Hours passed, but the searchers found nothing. Kiro's small footprints ended abruptly near a cluster of crystalline ferns. There were signs that he had moved through the brush, but then they vanished. Liara's hope began to fade. Her stomach twisted with fear. What if something had taken him? What if she would never see her son again? Rowan noticed the worry in her eyes and crouched beside her. "Liara, I need you to breathe. The forest is vast, but Kiro left signs. We just have to follow them carefully. This isn't over. I fear he's gone forever," she whispered. Her voice was fragile, trembling with grief. Rowan's eyes softened. "Then we will prove that fear wrong. Kiro is not gone. Not while humans and friends like me are here." With that, he stood and motioned for Liara to stay at the edge of the forest. "I will go first," he said. "I know how to track him." Liara nodded silently, too afraid to move. She watched as Rowan entered the forest. His movements were precise, deliberate, almost silent, but his presence was commanding. The leaves seemed to whisper as he passed, and the wildlife around them remained still, as if sensing the seriousness of his mission. The deeper he went, the darker it became. Alien plants towered overhead, their leaves shimmering faintly in the dimming light, casting strange patterns on the ground. Strange sounds echoed through the forest, soft, unidentifiable calls, the rustle of unseen creatures and the distant hum of ancient alien machines buried in the earth long ago. Rowan moved with purpose, carefully examining the broken branches, footprints, and bent reeds that marked the path Kiro might have taken. Hours turned into evening. The forest grew cooler and mist began rising from the riverbeds. Rowan's sensors picked up faint heat signals, but nothing matched a small child's body. Still, he pressed on, knowing that patience and observation were key. Back at the settlement, Liara waited beside the glowing stones, her hands clutching a small charm that Kiro had made for her. Each minute felt like an hour. Every sound of the forest made her heart leap, until it turned out to be only the wind or an animal. But she could feel the determination radiating from the human soldier. Somehow she knew he would not give up. Somehow she believed he would bring her son home. By nightfall, Rowan paused in a small clearing. The stars above were unfamiliar, shining in constellations the human had never seen before. The alien moon cast a soft silver light over the forest floor. He studied the area carefully. Broken branches, crushed leaves, and small footprints indicated that Kiro had passed this way. A faint sound reached his ears, the cry of a child, soft but distinct. He froze, listening. The sound came again, faint but full of urgency. His instincts told him that Kiro was alive. Relief surged through him, but he knew better than to rush blindly. He followed the sound cautiously, moving like a shadow through the alien flora. Finally, he found a clue. A small piece of fabric caught on a branch, unmistakably from Kiro's tunic. Rowan knelt, examining it. Good, he whispered to himself. We're on the right track. Even in the heart of the forest, danger could strike at any moment. Strange creatures rustled nearby, and the forest seemed to grow darker, thicker, but Rowan's human determination never wavered. He thought of what humans were capable of: ingenuity, resilience, courage, and he let that guide his every step. He was not just a soldier. He was a protector, and he would not leave without Kiro. As night fully settled, the forest around him seemed alive with mystery and threat, but Rowan's resolve was absolute. Somewhere in this alien wilderness, a frightened child waited, and he would not rest until that child was safe. The forest at night was a world of shadows and strange sounds. Moonlight filtered through the crystalline leaves, creating flickering patterns on the ground. Every step Captain Rowan took was careful and deliberate. He had been trained for situations like this, searching for someone lost in dangerous terrain. But this forest was unlike any he had ever encountered. Alien plants moved with a subtle life of their own, and faint whispers, almost like voices, drifted through the trees. Rowan's senses were alert. He adjusted the strap of his pack and checked the scanner strapped to his wrist. It picked up faint thermal signals, but nothing small enough to match a child. Still, he remained confident. Children often hid instinctively when afraid, and he knew that patience and careful observation were just as important as speed. As he moved deeper into the forest, broken branches and flattened ferns marked the path Kiro had taken. Rowan followed them closely, crouching low to examine each clue. He noticed tiny scratches on tree trunks, suggesting that Kiro had tried to climb over obstacles. He also found small pieces of fabric snagged on thorns, confirming he was on the right track. A sudden rustle in the underbrush made him freeze. His hand went to his side, where a compact multi-tool hung from his belt. Out of the shadows emerged a small, glowing insect-like creature, its wings shimmering in the moonlight. Rowan smiled faintly. The forest was full of surprises, but none of them were a threat, at least not yet. Hours passed, and the forest grew denser. Strange plants with translucent leaves blocked the path, and vines coiled like living ropes across the ground. Rowan used his tools to carefully cut through obstacles, making a safe path. His movements were efficient and precise, guided by the experience and adaptability that defined humans. Then he heard it, a soft, distant cry. A child's voice, faint but unmistakable. Rowan froze, listening carefully. The sound came again from deeper within the forest, accompanied by the low hum of a nearby river. He moved toward it cautiously, signaling with a small light to alert any nearby searchers without startling the child. The path led him to a narrow ravine. A shallow stream ran through it, glimmering like liquid silver under the moonlight. Rowan crouched, examining the terrain. The footprints here were faint, partially washed away by the water. But he could see where Kiro had attempted to cross. One small footprint was partially submerged, and nearby he found a tiny handprint pressed into the soft mud. He's alive, Rowan whispered to himself. Relief surged through him, but he knew the danger was far from over. The ravine was treacherous, with slippery rocks and steep walls. Any mistake could lead to serious injury. Rowan scanned the surroundings for a safe path. Using small ropes and hooks he carried, he fashioned a secure line to descend into the ravine. Every move was deliberate, every step calculated. He reached the bottom and continued forward, following the faint sounds of Kiro's voice. Suddenly, the cry stopped. Rowan froze. The forest seemed to hold its breath. He listened carefully, waiting. After a tense moment, he caught a faint rustle in the bushes ahead. Slowly he approached, calling softly, "Kiro, it's okay. I'm here to help." From behind a cluster of glowing ferns, a small figure emerged. Kiro's eyes were wide with fear, and he trembled slightly. His tunic was torn and his legs were scratched from the forest undergrowth. But he was alive. Relief flooded Rowan's chest, but he kept his focus. "Kiro, I'm Captain Rowan," he said gently. "You're safe now. Can you follow me?" The boy nodded hesitantly, eyes wide with trust. Rowan extended a hand and Kiro took it carefully. The human soldier's grip was firm but reassuring. As they moved through the forest, Rowan kept scanning the area. The forest was beautiful, but it was also unpredictable. Strange plants moved suddenly, and glowing insects darted around them, making shadows dance on the forest floor. Rowan knew they had to reach safety quickly, but he also knew rushing could be dangerous. He had to stay calm, think carefully, and protect the boy. Along the way, Rowan noticed something unusual. Small piles of stones arranged in patterns, almost like markers. They were too deliberate to be natural. He knelt, examining them. Perhaps they were left by the child to mark his path, or maybe they were remnants of the ancient civilization that had once lived here. Either way, they were clues, and Rowan used them to guide their steps. At one point, Kiro stumbled over a thick root and nearly fell into the stream. Rowan caught him instantly, pulling him back to safety. "Careful, Kiro," he said. "We're not out of danger yet." The boy nodded, gripping Rowan's hand tightly. As they pressed forward, Rowan used another human skill, observation and deduction. He noticed a faint trail of broken branches and bent grass leading to a cave hidden behind a waterfall. The sound of rushing water masked the cave's entrance, making it almost invisible. Rowan crouched and pointed. "Kiro, we need to go there," he said. "It might be safer inside." The boy nodded again, his fear tempered by trust in the human soldier. Rowan led the way, carefully navigating slippery rocks and strong currents. Inside the cave, the air was cool and damp, but safe. Kiro hugged himself, shivering slightly, and Rowan wrapped a small thermal blanket around him. "This is good," Rowan said quietly. "We can rest for a moment. You're safe for now." Kiro's eyes filled with tears, and he whispered, "Will my mother find me?" Rowan knelt beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "She will, and I'll make sure she does. We just need to be patient and careful." The boy nodded again, taking a deep breath. Rowan smiled faintly. This was what humans did best, not just fighting or surviving, but caring. Patience, thoughtfulness, and compassion could save lives just as much as strength or skill. After a short rest, Rowan examined the cave further. He found natural ledges and formations that could serve as a path to climb out safely. Using small ropes and his tools, he made a secure route. Step by step, they began to ascend, moving cautiously but steadily. As they climbed, Kiro began to ask questions about Rowan's human life. "Do humans have forests like this?" he asked. Rowan smiled faintly. "Yes, but every forest is different. The important thing is knowing how to move safely, and using your mind to solve problems." The boy listened closely, fascinated despite the fear in his heart. He had never met a human like Rowan before, strong, clever, and calm even in the face of danger. Slowly, Kiro began to feel that maybe, just maybe, he would see his mother again. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached the top of the cave. The forest stretched before them, bathed in the silver light of the alien moon. They were not out of danger, but they had made progress. Kiro's small hand still gripped Rowan's tightly, but his steps were steadier. Rowan paused, scanning the horizon. He could see faint lights in the distance, the settlement glowing softly like stars fallen to the ground. Relief and determination surged within him. They were close. "Kiro, do you see those lights?" Rowan asked. "That's home. We're almost there." The boy's eyes lit up. A small, hopeful smile broke through the fear that had haunted him. "Home," he whispered. Rowan nodded. "Yes, home. And your mother is waiting for you. We just have to stay careful and keep moving." With that, they began the final stretch, moving through the alien forest with quiet determination. Rowan's mind was focused on one thing: bringing this child safely back to his mother. Every human skill he possessed, observation, ingenuity, patience, and courage, would be used to ensure the boy returned home. And somewhere in the distance, Liara waited, unaware that her son was closer than she could imagine. The forest grew darker as the night deepened. Strange sounds echoed through the alien trees. Low rumbles, rustling leaves, and the distant call of creatures neither Rowan nor Kiro had ever seen. The air was cool, damp and heavy, with the scent of glowing plants that exuded a faint, sweet fragrance. Each step through the dense underbrush required careful attention, but Rowan moved confidently, guiding Kiro along the safest path he could find. Kairo's small hand remained firmly in Rowan's, though his steps grew slower. Fatigue and fear weighed heavily on him. Every shadow seemed like a threat, and the darkness made even familiar sounds strange and frightening. Rowan noticed the boy shivering and adjusted the thermal blanket around his shoulders. "We're getting close, Kiro," he said quietly, trying to keep the boy calm. "Just a little farther." The path ahead was narrow, bordered by jagged rocks and tangled roots. One misstep could send them tumbling down into a deep ravine. Rowan carefully examined each step before moving. His human training, the combination of instinct, intelligence, and patience, kept them safe. He knew rushing would only make the situation worse. Suddenly, a strange, low growl echoed through the forest. Kiro froze. Rowan turned his head, scanning the shadows. There, just beyond a fallen log, a large creature crouched. Its body was covered in iridescent scales, and its eyes glowed like molten gold. It was unlike anything Rowan had ever seen, yet he understood immediately. It was a predator, and they were intruders. "Stay calm, Kiro," Rowan whispered, pressing the boy gently against his side. He scanned the forest floor for anything he could use to defend themselves. A thick branch lay nearby. He picked it up, holding it like a staff, ready to act. The creature stepped forward, its claws scraping the ground softly. Its gaze locked onto them, and a low hiss filled the air. Rowan didn't flinch. He knew that humans were not only strong but clever. He slowly stepped to the side, keeping the branch between them and the creature. "We don't want trouble," he said calmly. "We're just passing through." The creature paused, studying them. Rowan took another step, moving cautiously but confidently. His heart beat fast, but he remained focused. The predator finally let out a short hiss and stepped back into the shadows. Rowan exhaled slowly. "Good," he murmured. "It just needed to understand we're not prey." Kiro looked up at him with wide eyes. "You're not scared?" he asked. Rowan smiled faintly. "I am, a little. But fear can't stop us from helping each other. Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right, even when you are." They continued through the forest, the sounds of distant predators reminding them to stay alert. The terrain grew steeper, leading toward a canyon that cut across the landscape. The walls of the canyon were jagged, and the bottom was dark and filled with swirling mist. Crossing it would be dangerous, but it was the only way forward. Rowan examined the canyon carefully. Using a combination of ropes, hooks, and small climbing gear, he began to construct a secure path down into the canyon. Kiro watched silently, trusting the human completely. Every step, every decision, showed him that humans were capable of extraordinary skill and courage. Halfway down the canyon wall, a sudden tremor shook the rocks. Loose stones fell, and Kiro cried out, gripping Rowan's arm tightly. The soldier held him close, steadying both of them. "It's okay," he said calmly. "I've got you. We'll get through this together." The tremor passed, but it left a precarious path behind. Rowan adjusted the ropes, securing them to stable rocks and testing each hold before moving. Step by step they descended, the boy clinging to him for support. Despite the fear, Kiro began to feel safe in Rowan's presence. There was a strength and kindness in the human soldier that gave him hope. Finally, they reached the bottom of the canyon. The mist swirled around their feet, making the ground slippery and uneven. Rowan's sensors detected faint heat signals ahead. They were close. Kiro had left signs here, and the boy's cries had guided him this far. As they moved forward, a sudden roar split the air. From the mist emerged a group of alien scavengers, medium-sized, agile creatures with sharp claws and glowing eyes. They had likely been attracted by the sound of Kiro's cries. Rowan didn't hesitate. He positioned himself between the boy and the creatures, scanning for an opening. Kiro's grip on him tightened. They want me," he whispered. Rowan's mind raced. He couldn't fight them all head-on, but he could use the terrain to his advantage. Spotting a narrow ledge along the canyon wall, he gestured for Kiro to follow. "Stay close," he said. "We'll use the ledge to stay safe." The ledge was precarious, barely wide enough for two. Rowan moved first, carefully testing each step before moving Cairo along. The scavengers lunged, but the ledge prevented them from reaching the boy. Rowan used small rocks to create obstacles, slowing their pursuit. Every move was calculated, a perfect example of human ingenuity and quick thinking. Finally, they reached a safer spot, a small alcove where the creatures couldn't reach them. Kiro sank to the ground, exhausted but unharmed. Rowan knelt beside him, checking for injuries. Only minor scratches. Relief washed over him, but he knew the danger wasn't over. They still had to reach the settlement. "We're okay for now," Rowan said, "but we have to keep moving. Your mother is waiting, and we can't stop until we're there." Kiro nodded, determination replacing fear in his eyes. He realized that humans were not only brave but clever. They could face dangers and still find a way to protect those who needed help. The boys' trust in Rowan grew with every step. The final challenge awaited them, a fast-flowing river that cut across the canyon floor. The water was cold and the current strong. Rowan assessed the situation. There were large stones that could serve as stepping points, but a misstep could sweep them away. Using his climbing gear and rope, he crafted a temporary bridge across the river, testing each step carefully before guiding Kiro. Step by step they crossed, Rowan supporting Kiro whenever the boys' balance wavered. It was tense, but their patience and careful planning paid off. Once across, they paused to catch their breath. Kiro looked up at Rowan, awe in his eyes. You saved me," he whispered. Rowan smiled, placing a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. "We saved each other," he said. "Humans are strong, but it's caring for others that makes us truly capable." As they climbed the canyon's final slope, the lights of the settlement glimmered faintly through the trees. Liara's home. The mother's worried eyes. The thought gave Rowan renewed strength. Every human skill, observation, ingenuity, courage, and compassion had brought them this far. And he would not fail now. They reached the edge of the canyon just before dawn. The first rays of the alien sun painted the sky in shades of pink and orange. Kiro looked out toward the settlement, hope shining in his eyes. Rowan knelt beside him, giving him a reassuring nod. "Almost there," he said. "Hold on. Your mother will be so happy to see you." Kiro's grip on Rowan tightened, not with fear this time, but with trust and gratitude. Together they stepped forward, ready to complete the final leg of their journey. The canyon floor stretched before them like a labyrinth of rock and mist. The alien sun had risen higher, casting long shadows that twisted and shifted as the light moved across jagged cliffs. Captain Rowan moved carefully, holding Kiro's hand tightly. The boy's eyes scanned the terrain, both fearful and hopeful. They were close now, he could feel it. His mother's voice, her gentle presence, seemed almost within reach. Rowan's experience told him to stay alert. The canyon was filled with natural hazards, loose rocks, sudden drops, and unpredictable currents from the small streams that trickled through. But he also knew that danger often concealed opportunity. Every rock, every crevice, and every fallen branch could be used to their advantage. His mind worked quickly, planning the safest path forward while keeping the boy protected. As they moved deeper into the canyon, a sudden noise froze them in their tracks. A low guttural growl echoed from behind a large boulder. Rowan crouched, scanning the shadows. From the mist emerged a larger, more aggressive predator than any they had faced before. Its scales were dark and reflective, its claws sharp enough to tear through the hardest bark. Its eyes glowed with intelligence and hunger. "Cairo, stay close," Rowan whispered. His voice was calm, firm, and filled with quiet authority. He scanned the area for a strategy. Fighting it directly could be dangerous, but he noticed a natural overhang nearby, a narrow ledge that ran along the cliff. If he could lure the creature onto unstable rocks, it might give them a chance to escape. The predator lunged, its roar echoing through the canyon. Rowan reacted instantly. Using a small stick, he threw a sharp stone toward a cluster of loose rocks near the creature. The rocks tumbled, causing the predator to hesitate. Seizing the moment, Rowan grabbed Kiro and dashed toward the ledge, moving with agility and precision. The boy's small hands clutched Rowan tightly. Fear was clear in his eyes, but he trusted the human completely. Step by careful step, Rowan led him along the narrow ledge, keeping low and steady. The predator followed, snarling, but the unstable rocks made it cautious. Rowan's quick thinking allowed them to gain distance while keeping the creature distracted. Finally, they reached a narrow alcove carved into the canyon wall. Rowan guided Kiro inside. It was small but safe, with walls that rose steeply on 3 sides, shielding them from further attacks. The boy collapsed onto the ground, exhausted but unharmed. Rowan knelt beside him, checking for scratches or bruises. Only minor marks from the climb. Relief surged through him, but he knew the mission was not complete. "Kiro, we're almost home," Rowan said softly. "Your mother is waiting. You're safe now, but we have to be patient and careful for the last part." Kiro nodded, wiping tears from his cheeks. "Will she really be there?" he asked, his voice trembling. "She will," Rowan said firmly. "Humans and friends always find a way to bring loved ones back." As they prepared to leave the alcove, Rowan examined the next challenge, a steep climb leading to a hidden plateau. The plateau overlooked the settlement, and from there Kiro could safely be brought home. But the climb was treacherous, with slippery rocks and narrow footholds. Rowan's training and ingenuity became essential. He carefully tied ropes to stable rocks and created secure handholds. Every step he took was deliberate, calculated, and safe. "Kiro, hold on tight," Rowan said. "I'll guide you. One step at a time." The boy followed, gripping the rope as tightly as he could. Each movement was slow but steady. Rowan's calm presence gave Kiro courage, showing him that even the most dangerous situations could be faced with patience and clever thinking. Halfway up, a sudden gust of wind swept through the canyon, making the climb even more difficult. Kiro's footing slipped slightly and he gasped in fear. Rowan immediately adjusted, wrapping an arm around him and pulling him to safety. "Steady," he said. "We're almost there. You can do this." The boy nodded, drawing strength from the soldier's confidence. Together they continued the climb, moving past jagged rocks and overhangs. Finally they reached the plateau. From there the settlement was visible in the distance, small homes glowing under the morning light. The familiar shapes of friends and neighbors moving below. "Kiro, look," Rowan said, pointing toward the settlement. "That's home. Your mother is waiting." The boy's eyes widened and a small smile appeared on his face. "Home," he whispered, voice filled with hope. But their journey was not over. Between them and the settlement lay a narrow canyon path with crumbling rocks and a rushing stream below. One wrong step could send them tumbling down. Rowan assessed the situation carefully. Using his tools, he fashioned a temporary bridge from fallen logs and vines, securing them to stable rocks. Every knot was tested, every plank carefully balanced. "Kiro will cross together," he said. "Stay close to me and watch every step." Step by step they crossed. The boy followed Rowan's lead, placing his small feet carefully on each plank. The rushing water below roared, but Rowan's calm guidance kept him steady. Midway across, one plank creaked. Rowan's quick reflexes allowed him to catch Kiro instantly, holding him close until the plank settled. The boy's trust in the human soldier grew even stronger. Finally, they reached solid ground. The settlement was closer now, the lights brighter and more welcoming. Kiro could see his mother standing near the glowing stones, her hands clasped together, her eyes scanning the horizon. Relief and joy shone on her face. "Kiro," she cried, rushing forward. Rowan stepped aside, allowing her to run to her son. She swept him into her arms, hugging him tightly. Tears streamed down her face, and Kiro clung to her as if he would never let go. Rowan watched quietly, a small smile on his lips. His mission was complete, but he did not linger. Humans often performed extraordinary acts not for glory, but because it was the right thing to do. Today, courage, intelligence, and compassion had saved a life. Liara looked up at Rowan, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought I would never see him again." Rowan nodded humbly.
"He's brave, and so are you."
"Humanity only helps because we believe in caring for others. That's what makes us strong." Kiro tugged gently on Rowan's hand. "Thank you for bringing me home," he said. His voice was small but sincere. Rowan knelt to meet him at eye level. "You did great, Kiro," he said. "And remember, courage isn't just about facing danger. It's about trusting those who care and never giving up." The reunion was quiet, yet powerful. The mother and son embraced, and the settlement watched with admiration. Humans had once again shown that bravery and ingenuity, combined with kindness, could overcome even the most difficult challenges. As the sun rose fully over the alien horizon, the canyon and forest behind them seemed less threatening, almost peaceful. Kiro held his mother's hand, glancing at Rowan one last time. "I'll never forget you," he said softly. Rowan nodded. "And I'll never forget you, Kiro. Remember, humans always find a way to help." With the child safe and the mother reassured, Rowan began to step away. There were other missions, other people in need, but the story of this rescue would remain in the hearts of all who witnessed it. The settlement had seen firsthand the courage, intelligence, and compassion of humanity. And more importantly, Liara and Cairo had experienced it personally. As Rowan disappeared into the forest beyond, the mother and child remained together, hearts full of relief, joy, and gratitude. The sun's light illuminated their faces, symbolizing a new day, a new hope, and the enduring strength of humanity in a galaxy full of unknown dangers. The settlement of Valara had awakened to a morning unlike any other. The alien sun bathed the small homes and crystal trees in a soft golden light, illuminating the mist that still clung to the forest edge. Birds with translucent wings sang quietly from the treetops, their songs weaving through the air like delicate threads. Liara stood outside her home, holding Kiro close. His small arms wrapped tightly around her neck, and her eyes shimmered with tears of relief and joy. For hours she had feared the worst, imagining the forest claiming her child forever, but now he was safe, brought back by a human soldier whose courage and determination had defied the dangers of their alien world. Kiro's eyes sparkled as he looked around the settlement. "It's so bright," he whispered. "And everyone is here." Liara smiled, stroking his hair. "Yes, my love. Everyone is here. And we are together." Captain Rowan stood a few steps away, watching quietly. He had arrived at the settlement before dawn, guiding the boy and ensuring they reached home safely. He observed the reunion from a distance, letting it unfold naturally. Humans often acted without seeking recognition, and this was one such moment. It was not his glory that mattered, it was the child's safety, the mother's peace, and the lesson of hope that their story would leave behind. As the first of the settlement's residents emerged, murmurs of admiration and gratitude spread quickly. The humans and aliens who had followed the search through the forest knew the courage it had taken. Rowan's methods, calculated, patient, and smart, had saved a life. Parents clutched their children a little tighter, and neighbors exchanged nods of quiet appreciation. Liara finally stepped back, holding Kiro by the hand. She approached Rowan, her silver eyes full of gratitude. "I can never thank you enough," she said softly. "You risked your life for my son." Rowan shook his head gently. "It was nothing I wouldn't do for anyone in need," he replied. "Humans have a way of helping, of thinking ahead, and of caring. That's what makes us strong." Kiro's bravery helped too. He followed my instructions and trusted me. That matters just as much. Kiro tugged at Rowan's sleeve. "Thank you for saving me," he said again. His voice was small but sincere. Rowan knelt to meet the boy at eye level. "You're welcome, Kiro. And remember this. Courage isn't only about facing danger, it's about caring for others and never giving up. You have that in you too." Liara placed a hand on Rowan's shoulder. "Will you stay for a while? The settlement would like to honor you." Rowan smiled faintly. "I cannot stay long," he said. "There are always others who need help. But knowing that Kiro is safe and that your family is together, that is enough reward." The settlement's council gathered around, welcoming Rowan with quiet respect. It was not a celebration of him alone, but of what humans represented: courage, ingenuity, and compassion. He had navigated alien terrain, faced predators, and protected a child when every choice mattered. The story of this rescue would live in the hearts of the settlers for generations, a reminder that humans were capable of extraordinary acts in the most dangerous situations. Kiro's gaze followed Rowan as he prepared to leave. "Will I see you again?" he asked. Rowan smiled warmly. "Perhaps someday," he said. "But always remember that the courage you learned here can stay with you. Humans have a way of inspiring others to be brave and thoughtful. You can be like that too." Liara hugged Rowan one last time. "Thank you," she whispered again, her voice thick with emotion. "For everything." Rowan nodded, then turned and began to walk back toward the forest edge. Every step he took reminded him of what humans were capable of: careful thought, clever problem-solving, and above all, compassion. These were the traits that allowed them to survive and thrive, even in worlds far from their own. The settlers watched him leave, a mixture of admiration and awe in their eyes. For them, this was more than a rescue, it was a lesson. Humans were not only strong but wise, and their courage could make life in a harsh galaxy brighter, safer, and more hopeful. Back in his small camp just beyond the settlement, Rohan paused to look at the horizon. The alien forest stretched endlessly before him, full of beauty, danger, and mystery. He could hear the laughter of children returning to their games and the quiet chatter of neighbors resuming their daily lives. Kiro and Liara were safe, and that knowledge filled him with a quiet satisfaction. He allowed himself a moment to reflect. Humanity's strength was not measured by weapons or armor, but by intelligence, courage, and the willingness to protect others. That willingness, the choice to act when others might hesitate, was what set humans apart. It had saved Kiro. It had reassured Liara. And it had left the settlement with a lasting story of hope and inspiration. Meanwhile, Liara returned home with Kiro, who clung to her hand tightly. He looked up at the sky, still streaked with the colors of dawn. "I never want to be lost again," he said softly. "You won't be," Liara replied, squeezing his hand. "And if ever we face danger, we can remember the courage of Captain Rowan, and we can be brave too." As the day grew brighter, the settlement slowly returned to normal. Farmers tended to fields of strange, glowing crops. Children laughed and ran along crystal pathways, and neighbors greeted one another with relief and smiles. Yet the story of the rescue spread quietly through the settlement, shared in whispers and nods of admiration. The humans among them had proven that courage and compassion could overcome even the most terrifying challenges. That evening, as the alien sun set, casting violet and gold across the sky, Liara and Kiro sat together outside their home. The boy leaned against his mother, feeling safe and loved. He thought of Rowan, of the careful steps, the guidance and the bravery that had brought him back. His young mind understood something important. Humans were capable of incredible things when they combined thought, courage, and care. "Mom," Kiro said, looking up at her, "I want to be brave like him someday." Liara smiled, her heart full. "You already are, Kiro, and if you remember his example, you will be braver than you know. Courage is about protecting others and never giving up, just like he did for you." As night fell, the settlement glowed softly under the alien stars. Families gathered, sharing meals and stories, their hearts lighter because one child was home and safe. Somewhere beyond the forest, Rowan continued his work, helping others who needed guidance, protection, and hope. The story of Kiro's rescue would live on, told and retold. It was a reminder that humans, with their intelligence, courage, and compassion, could face any challenge, even in the farthest reaches of space. They could bring hope where fear had taken hold and inspire others to act with bravery and kindness. And for Kiro and Liara, every heartbeat, every laugh, and every moment together was a reminder of the human soldier who had brought them home. The boy's small hand in his mother's, the mother's grateful eyes, and the settlement's admiration for humanity's courage formed a lasting legacy, one that would endure long after the day ended. In a galaxy full of uncertainty and danger, this story stood as proof that courage, intelligence, and care could shine brighter than any fear, bringing light, hope, and life back to those who needed it most.